2020 was a dreadful year for everyone, and this applies to politics too, especially here in Thailand. Thailand has been buffeted by political instability for years, largely a battle between supporters of the military and former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. The country's military has a long history of intervening in politics and has seized power 12 times since the end of the absolute monarchy in 1932. Mr. Prayut Chan-o-cha, the current Thai Prime Minister, led the military coup that removed Thaksin's sister, Yingluck Shinawatra, in 2014. But for now, things have changed. It's no longer a battle between pro-military and pro-Shinawatra. It's a battle between the military and pro-democracy. Shortly before the first wave, thousands of people took part in park runs across Thailand to protest against the military-backed government and call for more political freedom. At least 10,000 people registered for the Run Against Dictatorship, Wing Lai Lung, in the capital, Bangkok. Many showed the three-finger salute, a gesture featured in their Hunger Games series that symbolizes unity amid struggle. In another park of Bangkok, Lumpini Park, a smaller walk-to-cheer uncle event, Deun Cheer Lung, with around 3,000 people took place to show support for the government and this guy. First wave. The first wave protests were triggered by the Constitution Court decision to disband the popular opposition Future Forward Party, FFP, or Phak Anakot Mai on February 23, 2020. The most recent coup d'etat governed the Kingdom of Thailand from 2014 to 2019. For many young people, FFP, or Phak Anakot Mai, was seen as an opportunity for change after years under military rule. After the party was forced to disband by court order, many joined protests on school campuses and through the use of social media. They came up with various hashtags unique to each institution. However, these were later halted by COVID-19 restrictions, with all schools closed. On March 2016, the government invoked the emergency decree banning large gatherings. It additionally issued a travel ban for all foreigners entering Thailand. As of July 2020, even though the country has a relatively successful response, the state of emergency and the severe economic restriction was not yet cancelled. The country's significant tourism industry has been heavily affected, leaving Thailand with its worst economic downturn since the 1997 Asian financial crisis. On June 4th, Wanchalerm Satsaksit, a Thai political exile, was abducted in Cambodia. His disappearance is expected to be ordered by the Thai government. Shortly before the second wave protest started, the National Center for COVID-19 announced 2 new infected cases. Both of them were the government's VIP guests and were not required to comply with several COVID-19 measures. After the announcement, more than 90% of hotel bookings in Rayong got cancelled, and this later led to the second wave protests. On July 18th, Thailand saw the largest street demonstration since the 2014 Thai coup d'etat at the Democracy Monument in Bangkok with around 2,500 protesters. Organized under the name Free Youth or Yawachon Plot Act, they announced the 3 demands. 1. A dissolution of the parliament. 2. An end to threatening government critics. 3. A new constitution. The event was triggered by the economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic and the unjustified enforcement of the emergency decree that was heavily criticized as being a tool against any possible protest. Monarchy reform. On August 3rd, a Harry Potter-themed demonstration was held. The protesters openly criticized the monarchy and demanded reform of lèse majesté law. The protest, which 200 people joined, featured a public speech by Anon Nampa. On August 10th, United Front of Thammasat and demonstration had a rally at Thammasat University, Rangsit campus in Pathum Thani named Thammasat Cha Mai Thon, Thammasat will not tolerate. Rung Panasaya Sithi Jirawattanakull declared 10 demands to reform the monarchy. On August 16th, Free Youth with Free People held another demonstration at the Democracy Monument. On August 17th, Just one day after the big protests in Bangkok, students throughout the country joined the protest movement by making the three-finger salute during the national anthem at morning assembly. On August 26th, student groups presented submissions including the 10 demands to the House of Representatives. On September 19th, protesters gathered at Thammasat University. They occupied Sanam Luang in the afternoon and stayed overnight, with attendance estimated between 20,000 to 100,000. On September 20th, the protesters laid a plaque in cement at Sanam Luang which read, "This country belongs to the people and is not the property of the monarch as they have deceived us." ประเทศนี้เป็นของราษฎรไม่ใช่สมบัติของกษัตริย์ตามที่เขาหลอกลวง However, the plaque was removed in less than 24 hours. Later, protesters marched to deliver their demands for reform to the King's Privy Council. An envelope containing their demands was handed to a police commissioner. Republic of Thailand. On September 24th, Parliament voted to set up a study committee, effectively delaying a scheduled vote on constitutional amendment by at least a month. Discontent prompted #Republic of Thailand to trend first in the country's Twitter with more than 700,000 retweets, the first mass public expression of Republican sentiment in the country. On October 13th, a small group of protesters gathered at Ratchadamnern Avenue to protest the passing of the King's motorcade, resulting in the detention of activists. On October 14th, protesters gathered at Democracy Monument with the objective of moving to Government House to demand the resignation of Prayut. They were met by counter-protesters, the royalists Thai Pak Di. On October 16th, Khana Rasadon 2563 gathered at Pathumwan intersection, and 2 hours later got hosed by the police with high-pressure water cannons filled with tear gas for the first time. Within hours of the crackdown, students from many universities nationwide held flash protests in response. On October 2016, protesters marched to the German embassy in Bangkok. On November 3rd, a demonstration was held at the Ministry of Digital Economy and Society to protest the block of the Pornhub website. On November 8th, the protesters marched from Democracy Monument to the Grand Palace to deliver their letters to the king. The gathering was largely peaceful, but the police employed water cannons for the second time during the months-long protests. In November, the parliament voted to pass 2 constitutional amendment bills, but their content effectively shut down the protesters' demands of abolishing the Senate and the reformation of the monarchy. Third wave. On February 1st, in response to the 2021 Myanmar coup d'etat, Thai and Burmese protesters gathered at the Myanmar embassy in Bangkok. On February 28th, a protester group called REDEM or Restart Democracy held an event at 1st Infantry Regiment where Prayut's residence and the headquarters of the King's close bodyguard are located. On March 20th, REDEM gathered at Sanam Luang in front of the Grand Palace in Bangkok. On March 24th, the United Front of Thammasat and demonstration occupied Ratchaprasong intersection in Bangkok, demanding reform of the monarchy and the release of detained leaders. Who was detained? 1. Anon Nampa. He's a human rights lawyer who first openly demanded reform of the monarchy at a Harry Potter themed rally. 2. Penguin Parichiwarak. He's a student activist who rose to prominence as co-leader of the United Front of Thammasat and demonstration UFTD Group. 3. Rung Panasaya Sithi Jirawattanagun. She's a UFTD co-leader who read out a 10-point manifesto calling for reform of the monarchy. 4. Mairayong Panupong Jatnok. 5. Paidawdin Jatupat Bun Pattara Raksa. 6. ครูใหญ่อัฐพลบัวพัฒน์ 7. มายพัสราวรีธนกิจพิบูลผล 8. ฟอร์ดทัศเทพเรืองประภัยกิจเสรี 9. โตโต้ปิยรัตน์จงเทพ He's the leader of the We Volunteer Group. On April 4th, Jatupan Prompan, one of the core leaders of the Red Shirts, organized a rally in collaboration with Pipop Thongchai, the former Yellow Shirts, at Santipan Park calling for Prayut's removal from office. Don't worry if you don't know who they are. The Red Shirts are simply regarded as pro-Chinawat or pro-democracy 10 years ago, and the yellow shirts are people who are anti-Thaksin or pro-military. On May 2nd, REDEM marched from Victory Monument to the criminal court to show their opposition to the court's decision after it denied another bail request for detained activists. Talking about politics can be prickly, but it is undeniably true that politics has an enormous impact on our lives, and it's important to understand what's happening around us and be able to participate in conversations as well.